Welcome to This Week in Hearing, where listeners find the latest information on all things related to hearing care. We look at current developments in politics and legislation, innovative technologies, pharmaceuticals, therapeutics, and we're always looking for the latest developments in practice management. Hello, I'm Bob Traynor, and I'm your host for this edition of This Week in Hearing. This time, we're talking about an innovative technology that's brought to us by MDHearing, which they call the Quiet device. And today, my guest is Dr. Sandra Porps, Director of Audiology at MDHearing. Thanks so much for being with us today, Sandra.
And thank you so much for having me.
And so the first thing my listeners will be interested in is, how did you get involved with MDHearing, and a little bit about your career and that kind of thing. And then we'll move on into talking about the QuietTV.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I started in audiology in 2005. I'm a Central Michigan University grad, and I worked in a clinic for a number of years, and I got to a point in my career where I had children and was looking for a change. So at that point, I was approached by the founder of MDHearing, who is an ENT out of Chicago. And he was finding that he recommended hearing aids to a lot of his patients, but they weren't getting them. And at first he thought it might only be price related, but when he started talking to them, it became very evident that accessibility was a big part of it. So his patients were needing to take time off work to come in and get hearing aids, or were needing to take several buses, or needed to ask a grandchild. And his goal was to try to get hearing aids to those people in a different model. I thought that was very interesting and certainly spoke to some challenges I had seen with my own grandparents. And that's how I joined the company in 2010.
Cool. Well, we all have all these different things. Somebody said they'd look at your Vita and they say, "Oh, you did this, and oh, you did this, and oh, you did this." Well, it was because I had children and I would do something different, or maybe because the kids got older and you needed to do a little more because they needed more stuff, or whatever it is. So, anyway, well, can you tell us a little bit about why MDHearing created this particular product they call the QuietTV?
Yep. So as we know, as hearing healthcare professionals, television is a source of frustration for many of our patients. Whether they have hearing loss or not, TV is something that we hear all the time with patients coming in saying, "Oh, well, I want to watch TV with my spouse," or maybe they're not quite ready for hearing aids and TV is really their only source of frustration. So we know that is a pain point for many of our patients. So being that we have the hearing aid background, we thought we'd look into a different direction and came up with QuietTV, which is it's a headset. You attach the base directly to your television, and then the base streams right to the headset.
Dr. Porps is going to show us a little bit about what this QuietTV looks like, and give us maybe a little bit of a demonstration with it and so on.
Sure. So this is the base. That's the front of it. And then the back of it, you can see it's very easily labeled, and you can use a couple different connections. You can use the optical cable if your television has an optical cable, or analog. So you can use an analog connection or the RCA cords, the red and white cords that everyone's pretty familiar with. So a couple different ways to connect it, whatever your TV has. And then the headset itself looks like this. And it comes with earbuds, but then there's different kinds you can get as well. So if what comes standard isn't comfortable for you, there's other options as well. And the base has 2 spaces for headsets. So you can order 1 or 2, depending on what your household needs. And it just sits in like that. So it's very easy.
And recharges as well, or does it use battery?
It recharges as well.
Oh, cool.
So one charge lasts about
everything else does these days, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes. One charge will last about 5 to 7 hours.
Okay. So can you tell us a little, where did this come from, and what's the R&D process that went into this particular device?
It was really fun to do the R&D on this because it is such a different product from a hearing aid. So we looked at different frequency responses and tried to come up with what we thought would be most beneficial for our customers. And then we got to do R&D out in the field. So we tried it with many different people, and people that had hearing loss, people that did not have hearing loss, different types and levels of hearing loss, and asked which of the kind of 3 samples we had narrowed it down to was the best, the most clear, the one that they liked listening to the longest, and a clear winner emerged. So
that's where it all came from.
yes.
And with the tone control, one seems like it's more for high frequency losses, and another one's more for kind of overall hearing losses.
It is. You can control that.
So what's the technology that you use with this particular device? Bluetooth or FM or this or that, or what
So
do you use?
it's actually radio frequency instead of Bluetooth. So radio frequency is very easy to pair. It's a more stable connection. You have less drops. So we went with radio frequency for this.
Cool. And it looks to me like the connections appear to be even easier than the hearing aid connections for people to do with their hearing aids.
They are. In addition to all of the R&D and all the subjects that we had in research and development, my personal test is always my dad. My dad and my uncle are 70 plus years old, and if they can do it, they tell you they're tech savvy, but they're my testers. So I brought a box to them and said, okay, guys, do this, set this up without any input from me. And they both did it flawlessly with no problems whatsoever. So,
of course, a lot of the patients that we see, even dad and so on, a lot of the people, we didn't get cell phones, and we didn't get computers as we were growing up.
Right.
We had to learn them and have to interact with them over a long period of time in a career. So there's a whole lot of people that are much more tech savvy than a lot of the customer service people seem to think they are.
Yes, very definitely. Very definitely.
So we can use a couple of different headsets with the same base then.
You can. There's actually an unlimited number of headsets that you can pair to the base. Pairing a headset to the base only takes 1 second. So we thought in places where maybe there's an assisted living facility where multiple people might want to watch the same program, they could plug one base into the television, but then each person bring their own headset, and it only takes 1 second to pair that headset to that base.
So instead of a classroom of deaf kids, as FM systems used to be used for and still are in many places, now we have a classroom full of old people who don't hear well and can use all kinds of different things with the headset. That sounds super.
Absolutely.
So now, do you need to have a hearing loss to use this device? Because there are a lot of people I know that are part of what I think Sarah Sadlowski calls the do nothing group, who have decided I'm not going to do anything about my hearing loss. This looks like it's also made for the do nothing group as well as for the do something group.
It is, absolutely. You definitely do not need to have hearing loss in order to use this. In my own household, in the evenings, my spouse likes to watch television, whereas I'm a big reader, and we can sit in the same room and I can read my book and he can use this and watch TV, and I don't have to listen.
So it also probably gives you a break from football games that aren't Central Michigan football games that are something that may or may not be of interest. So
correct. And you can control, if you have someone that's using this and then someone that isn't, you can control the volume each independently. So the volume of the TV can be in one spot and then the volume of the headset be in a totally different spot.
Cool. Well, now is this device set up so that if I still had my clinic, I could call MDHearing and set up an account and get a little bit of a break on the cost and sell that to my patients somehow so that it would be of benefit to my practice. In other words, I've always been an advocate of having as many products that are relative to hearing as possible. I mean, you should have some OTCs, you should have some headsets, you should have this and that and all these other things around. And could we order this as a part of our hearing center offered to our patients?
We're not set up for that at this point in time, but that's definitely something that I think our CEO would be open to. So if someone would like to do that, I would encourage them to contact us and we could get you in touch with the right person to be able to do that.
Super. Yeah. Well, Sandra, thanks so much for being with us today to show us what this innovative product can do. And now where do we go if we want to send our patients for this device, or if we would like to call up and talk to someone about having this product available in the clinic?
So it's MDHearingAid.com. And if you can give us a call, our phone number's on the website, or if you'd like to email, you can email support@MDHearingAid.com, and we'd be happy to help you get set up with an account.
Super. Well, again, thanks so much for being with us, Sandra, and we will look forward to seeing a number of these products out in the community, as it looks like it's not only made for the do something crowd, but also for the do nothing crowd.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.